Hi, I'm Michael Harris, and for over 30 years, I've been helping older adults learn how to take better care of their health. You're standing in a quiet kitchen in the evening. The fridge hums, the counter lamp is warm, and you're thinking about a small snack before your favorite show. You pull open the refrigerator door, and there they are. Tomatoes, a bundle of onions, a loaf of bread you tucked in to keep it fresh, a jar of honey that turned into a sugary rock, and a bottle of olive oil that looks cloudy. Here's the twist most people never hear. Some of the foods that feel safest in the cold may actually taste worse, be harder to digest, and cost you money because you end up throwing them away. And stick with me, because in a few minutes I'll share the most surprising evening benefit that shows up when you shift how you store just one of these items. There's also one very common fridge habit that quietly empties your wallet. More on that before we wrap up. Let's start with tomatoes, because this one is the heartbreaker. When tomatoes go into the refrigerator, the cold can flatten their flavor and make the texture mealy. Have you ever sliced a tomato from the fridge, put it on a sandwich, and wondered why it tasted watery and dull? I remember visiting a friend who kept the plumpest tomatoes lined up on a kitchen towel. He sliced one at room temperature, sprinkled a pinch of salt, and said, "Smell this." The aroma was bright and garden fresh, and the flesh was soft in the best way. Research suggests that chilly air can interfere with the little flavor compounds that make a tomato taste like a tomato. Picture a tomato like a choir. In the cold, half the singers sit down and the music thins. Do you want that juicy summer taste or the quiet version? If you can, keep whole tomatoes on the counter away from direct sunlight. If you've already cut one, cover the cut side and place it in the fridge, but bring it back toward room temperature before eating. Tonight, pull your tomatoes out for tomorrow's lunch and notice the difference on the first bite. Next comes potatoes, the quiet workers of so many dinners. Cold storage can nudge potatoes to a sweeter taste and a strange color when you cook them. One evening, a couple I know prepared their favorite pan-fried potatoes. They used the ones they kept in the refrigerator to make them last, and they noticed the slices browned too fast and tasted a little off. They didn't know why, they just knew it wasn't the flavor they grew up with. Gentle kitchen science suggests that cold, damp air can change what's going on inside the potato, shifting it away from that steady, comforting taste. Picture a potato like a sturdy winter coat. It does best in a cool, dry hallway, not pressed against a cold window where it gets damp and odd-smelling. Where do you keep yours? Try placing potatoes in a paper bag or basket in a cool, darker cabinet with some breathing room. Aim for simple, not hot, not damp, not sealed tight. Tonight, check under the sink or in a pantry and give your potatoes a better home before you turn in. Onions deserve their own moment. The refrigerator's moisture invites onions to get soft, slimy, and even moldy. Many people have opened a crisper drawer to find an onion that turned from firm to mush. A neighbor told me about making Sunday stew and discovering her refrigerated onions had grown fuzzy around the edges. Not exactly appetizing. Some kitchen studies note that onions prefer good airflow and dryness to stay crisp and fragrant. Imagine an onion like a tiny bundled umbrella. It needs air around it so the layers don't get soggy. Do you ever notice a sharp smell lingering in the fridge after storing an onion there? That's another sign it's not happy. Keep whole onions in a mesh bag or an open basket in a dry spot away from potatoes. If you've already cut one, that's different. Cover it tightly and keep it in the refrigerator for a short stretch and use it soon so it doesn't share its smell with your whole kitchen. Tonight, move any whole onions out of the crisper and give them a small bowl in a corner you'll pass often.
Now bananas. The refrigerator often turns banana peels dark and can dull their fragrance. A friend told me about buying beautiful yellow bananas, putting them straight into the refrigerator, and then a couple days later, pulling out a bunch with black skins. Inside they were still fine, but the experience felt uninviting, so they went uneaten. Gentle kitchen wisdom suggests bananas prefer a comfortable room environment until they're ripe as you like. Think of a banana as a sun-loving hammock fruit, swinging gently in the kitchen air, not shivering next to leftovers. What's your banana habit? Counter or fridge? If you want them to last a bit longer, you can separate them so they ripen more slowly, or hang them on a small hook so they don't bruise. And if you do have very ripe bananas you can't finish, peel and freeze slices in a bag for tomorrow's smoothie. Tonight, place your bananas in a visible spot, maybe beside the kettle, so you remember to enjoy them with breakfast. Bread is the sneakiest one. It seems logical to refrigerate bread to make it last, but many people find that it becomes dry and stale more quickly there. One evening, a couple sat down for toast and jam, and the bread from the refrigerator had that cardboard chew, no warmth, no softness. They switched to room temperature storage for the next loaf, and it stayed pleasant for a couple of days. Many bakers observe that cool environments can change the way bread holds moisture, nudging it towards stiffness sooner. Picture a loaf like a cozy sweater. Folded on a shelf, it stays soft, but pressed against a chilly pane, it stiffens. Do you like your bread soft and fragrant, or would you settle for a tough slice? Here's a helpful rhythm. Keep out what you'll eat in a day or two, and freeze it in portions you can pull out as you need. Toasting or warming a slice can bring back some softness if it's been sitting. Tonight, take the loaf out of the refrigerator, slice what you'll use in the next day, and put the rest in the freezer, where it will pause gracefully, instead of drying out. Honey is another classic oops item. When you put honey in the refrigerator, it often turns thick and gritty. I once watched a friend try to sweeten evening tea with honey that wouldn't leave the spoon. It had crystallized hard, it looked like amber. Gentle food science notes that cooler, damp air encourages those crystals to gather, which is normal but inconvenient. Imagine honey like a lazy river. When it's warm and unbothered, it flows. When it's chilled, the river slows, and pebbles appear. Have you wrestled with a honey jar lately? Keep honey tightly sealed in a cabinet at room temperature. If it does turn gritty, place the sealed jar in a bowl of warm water and give it a little time. It may return to that smooth pour you enjoy. Tonight, move your honey to a dry shelf near your tea mugs so it's ready for an easy evening ritual. Coffee, beans or ground, often loses its rich aroma in the refrigerator, and it can soak up smells from nearby foods. I've met folks who swore their morning coffee started tasting a bit like last night's leftover fish or garlic butter, not the flavor we hope for. Many roasters point out that moisture and odors can sneak into coffee, dulling its character. Think of coffee like a delicate letter sealed with fragrance. In the fridge, the envelope gets damp and smudged. Do you store your coffee in the open air or tucked in beside the milk? Try keeping beans or grounds in an airtight, opaque container in a cool cupboard, away from heat and light. If you buy a large bag of beans and want them to last, consider dividing it into smaller, airtight portions and freezing what you won't use soon, opening only one portion at a time. And a gentle evening reminder. If coffee later in the day ever stirs up heartburn or restlessness for you, you might enjoy a decaf or herbal option in the evening. Tonight, move your everyday coffee to a snug container in the pantry and see if tomorrow's cup smells livelier. Olive oil acts strangely in the refrigerator, turning cloudy and thick. That can make it hard to drizzle, and sometimes it never quite feels the same. A couple I spoke with kept their good oil in the fridge to protect it, and they found themselves avoiding it because it was always goopy. Many food lovers note that this oil prefers darkness and moderate room conditions to show its best flavor. Picture olive oil like stained glass in a church window. It glows in dim light, but a harsh, cold draft takes away the shine. Where does your olive oil live right now? If it's near a hot stove burner, slide it to a cooler shelf. If it's in the refrigerator, give it a home in the pantry. A small bottle by the stove for daily use and a larger bottle in a cabinet can work well. Tonight, set your oil in a darker spot and notice how much easier it pours tomorrow. There's another food that surprises people on this list. Whole melons and avocados before they're ripe often prefer room temperature too, but I promised you 9 big ones to watch out for in the refrigerator, and we've covered the classics you probably have right now. Before we close those loops I opened earlier, let me share a comforting thought. Small changes in where you keep your everyday foods can create real comfort and a sense of order in your evenings. A tomato with full flavor makes a simple salad satisfying. Bread that stays soft means toast that feels like a hug. Honey that pours smoothly turns tea into a nightly ritual. And garlic and onions that stay firm make cooking feel easier, not fussy. Now, I mentioned a surprising evening benefit. Many older adults tell me that when they stop hiding their good foods in the refrigerator and bring a few of them back out on the counter, tomatoes, bananas, that special bottle of olive oil, they actually snack a little better in the evening without more effort. When color and aroma live at eye level, you're more likely to reach for a juicy tomato slice with a sprinkle of salt or a banana with a handful of nuts, instead of rummaging for something packaged. Research suggests that scent and appearance can support appetite and enjoyment, which matters as we aim to keep meals pleasant and steady. Imagine your counter as a friendly invitation, rather than a sterile parking lot. Does that picture make your evening feel calmer already? Tonight, place one colorful, ready-to-eat food in a visible spot where you make tea or watch TV. You may be surprised how often your hand wanders to the fresher choice.
And what about that habit that quietly drains the wallet? In many homes, it's refrigerating bread. People buy a loaf, tuck it into the fridge to protect it, find it stale the next day, and toss the last third of it at the end of the week. That's not a scandal. It's just a small, steady leak. Switching to room temperature for short-term use and freezing the rest can reduce waste, keep flavor, and protect your budget without any extra work. Think of it like folding laundry as you go. A quick slice and freeze means every future slice tastes like the day you bought it. Will you try freezing a few slices tonight? You might thank yourself tomorrow. Let's walk through an evening scene to tie this together. You come in from the living room during a commercial break. On the counter, a small basket holds firm onions and a head of garlic, and nearby a little bowl cradles bright tomatoes. A bunch of bananas hangs on a hook, gently swaying when you pass. There's a clear jar of honey beside the kettle, and a handsome tin holds your coffee. A dark glass bottle of olive oil sits behind a cupboard door, within reach, but out of the heat. Potatoes rest in a cool cabinet, waiting to be roasted into golden wedges for tomorrow's lunch. Nothing is fussy. Nothing asks you to measure or worry. You open the refrigerator and find the things that truly belong there. Greens washed and crisped, dairy tucked in snugly, leftovers you actually plan to eat. The kitchen feels lighter, calmer, more purposeful. Along the way, maybe you notice the pattern we used tonight. A simple explanation, a quick story you can see and feel, a cautious note about what tends to happen behind the scenes, a little image to make it stick, a question to help you connect it to your own home, and a tip you can try before bedtime. That rhythm is gentle on the mind. It makes the changes feel like tiny steps, not a homework assignment. If any of this bumps into your personal routines, say if evening coffee makes your chest feel warm or your sleep a little jumpy, adjust the timing or choose a milder drink. Comfort comes first. You might be wondering, will I really taste the difference? Many people say they do. Tomatoes taste brighter. Bread behaves better. Honey flows. Coffee smells like a morning hug. Onions and garlic keep their snap. Bananas look friendly, not gloomy. Olive oil pours like silk. Potatoes cook up with that dependable comfort you remember. Effects vary, of course, and your kitchen has its own personality, but these changes tend to make evenings easier and meals more inviting. You don't have to overhaul your kitchen to feel the shift. Start with 1 or 2 items, especially anything that's given you trouble. If your bread has been disappointing, move it out of the fridge and freeze portions. If your honey has turned to crystals, warm it gently and give it a clean shelf. If your coffee has lost its charm, protect it from moisture and odors. If your tomatoes taste dull, let them breathe on the counter and slice them when you're ready to enjoy them. If your onions go slimy or garlic sprouts, let them live where air can reach them. If your bananas look scary black, let them relax on the counter. If your olive oil is sluggish, bring it back to the pantry's quiet and keep the bottle away from the stove's heat. If your potatoes taste odd, give them a cool, dry corner instead of the cold. Picture yourself tomorrow evening. Your favorite show is about to start. You spread a slice of bread you thawed quickly in the toaster, crisp on the edges, soft in the middle, and you top it with a sliver of tomato that actually tastes like summer. You drizzle a swirl of olive oil on a small plate and dip once, smiling at how smooth it is. Your tea is sweetened with honey that flows like a ribbon. The kitchen smells faintly of onion and garlic in a good way, not a what died in the crisper way. Maybe you finish with a banana, bright and friendly. There's no wrestling with rock-hard honey or stale bread. There is no puzzling over why the tomato tastes like water. There is instead a quiet sense that your kitchen is working with you. Before we close, let me return to those two promises. The most surprising evening benefit many people notice when they store these foods thoughtfully is a calmer appetite and an easier time choosing simple, nourishing snacks. Your senses do the guiding when fragrance and color meet you at the counter. And the budget leak? Tucking bread into the fridge and then tossing the last slices is a common habit that adds up. Freezing what you won't use soon and keeping the rest at room temperature helps you enjoy every slice and waste less. Small changes, steady comfort. Now, I'm curious, which one will you try tonight? Will you move the honey, rescue the bread, or set those tomatoes free? Leave a comment and tell me the one small habit you're changing after watching this video. And if you have a friend or a neighbor who could use a calmer, cozier evening kitchen, share this with them. Sometimes the softest shifts, how we store the foods we already love, make nights feel warmer, mornings steadier, and steps a little lighter.